vibration of September 11th come from? Was it from...
Oh, you're going to give us a handful of choices?
I'm going to give you choices.
How long do you have? How long do you have?
Just to 4. People in the buildings, airplanes. Was it the Taliban? Was it the world? Was it New York City?
Yes, 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 yes.
It all came together at one point.
Oh, all culminations do. In other words, any time there is an event, whether it's an event in your body, whether it's an event on a world stage, any time there is an event, it's always a culmination of all factors in harmony. No exceptions ever.
What about the rest of the country? Were we all vibrating the same way that day? The reason
So what you're saying is, when in this universe or in this world there is an event that I accept is managed by law of attraction, does that mean everyone not involved in the event is still in the same vibration? And we say, of course not.
So why was my life affected? When I wasn't in the building, I wasn't in the planes, why was I affected?
Because you're turning your attention to it.
The day before, I had a thriving business, friends that were alive, and then all of a sudden, within 24 hours, things turned around, and I had to ask myself, well, is it my own inner guidance system that I can't follow anymore? Or was it something that I didn't realize was brewing up inside of me? In other words, was it a personal vibration on behalf that happened to my life, or was it a global vibration?
Anything that you are living, you are the attractor of. In other words, there's no exception to that. There are those who would say, well, is there a difference in the vibration between those who are in the eye of the storm and those who are on the edge of the storm and those who are further away from the storm? And we say, yes, your vibration is all a part of that. When you talk about wanting to understand the vibrations of all of the facets or factors that all culminated in that, and we say it would be quite a sorting out job, wouldn't it? And yet it's not satisfying, we know, for any of you to hear us say, well, just trust that law of attraction is always sorting things out, and you can tell by the way you feel how you're doing, because there are many of you, especially today, who are not all that sure about how you feel. In other words, you worry that there might be some vibration within you that might sneak up on you and cause an event in your experience that you didn't see coming. There are so many ways that we are wanting to discuss this with you, all with the intent of helping you to relax back into your own sense of well-being. Because when you think about it, when you ask other than that, what you're asking for is that all things that might not please you in some way be soothed beforehand. In other words, it's like saying, this event, horrible as it was, has set me off balance, and I'd like to understand how the people, especially those that were directly affected by it, or those that are still to be directly affected by it, what was their vibration like? What was happening within their lives that caused them to get so close to that? And maybe in my understanding that, then I can stay further away from it. And we say, the law of attraction doesn't work that way. The more involved you get in the discussion of it and the trying to understand of it, then the closer to the vibration of it you get. And you can tell by the way you feel as you draw near to something, whether when you really get there, it's going to be pleasurable to you or not, whether it really matches the intentions that you hold.
So then, if that's the case, I could actually prevent myself from having any biological warfare affect me.
It's not possible for it to affect someone who stands in a place of understanding their well-being. But the thing that we feel with so many of you is that you say, well, I felt more secure in my well-being before all of this happened than now. And these events that have happened now are eroding my sense of well-being. And we say, well, therein lies your work. You just have to keep bringing yourself back to the place of understanding that you are no further from well-being than you were before any of this.
So I don't have to move out of New York or, buy gas masks or anything like that. I can just...
Well, let us ask you some other questions, and maybe we can get this into perspective for you. Do you ever ride in an automobile?
Yes.
Doesn't that feel foolish, knowing what you know?
Yes. Exactly. And that's why I think all of a sudden now, since September 11th, I've been questioning my guidance system. I've been much more cautious than I ever was before, and I would think, well, that could never happen. And I think, well, wait a minute, the unthinkable did happen. Maybe I do need to be cautious. So I'm questioning myself.
The unthinkable did not happen.
It didn't.
the thinkable only ever happens.
Very good, yes. Touche, yeah.
And we would put it into even stronger words for you. We would say the unfeelable. And then we would say the really, 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 really unfeelable. In other words, as we feel the vibration of you, you are nowhere near any of that. And yet, we're not going to take each one of you and check out your vibration. In other words, you have a guidance system within you that's letting you know that. And so you say, but Abraham, I've been feeling utter terror. Doesn't that mean that I'm holding myself in vibrational harmony with that which is terror? And we say, no, it just means you've been focused on terror. And your inner being is saying, you can go there, I'm not going to. And while you go, the feeling of terror is what it feels like when you go somewhere without me. That's what the feeling of terror is going somewhere without your inner being. It's joining a thought, it's playing a thought out. And so think about it. You walk past the television, you hear a little piece of something, and it doesn't feel like terror at first. It just feels like interest, maybe a little bit of alarm, but then you listen a little further, and then you begin feeling a little more uneasy, and then they give you more information, and then they don't even give you information about what's happened, they give you information about what could happen, or what might happen, or what did happen somewhere far away. They take all of the things that have ever happened anywhere, and they bring them all together, and then they get everybody to talk about what would happen if this happened, and how would we feel, and what would we do. And before you know it, with a little bit of focus, you get yourselves so focused that you don't feel good under those conditions. It means your guidance system is working. We would worry about you if you didn't have strong upheaval over this. In other words, if you said to us, oh, I felt nothing at all. In other words, I watched those buildings come down and I just thought, not my problem, nothing to do with me. We would say, well, your guidance system is giving you more information than that, we believe, because you cannot look at something like that without feeling the upheaval of it. But feeling up the upheaval of it doesn't mean that you are in a precarious place. It means something has happened that has been brought to your attention, and when you looked at it, is so far apart from the desires that you hold that you had an immediate vibrational response to it that's probably reverberating within you even to today. However, as you say, I felt this extraordinary negative emotion, we say, from our vantage point, it was an awesome thing to see the global rocket of desire that was emitted as a result of this. In fact, we have never before seen, because you have never been so technologically advanced in terms of your connection with one another, in terms of your video recorders on the spot and your ability with your satellites to get the images worldwide. There has never been an event where more humans were focused in a single moment and were asking, because of what they were seeing, on a personal basis as dramatically. In other words, we have never seen a stronger current of source energy coming forth into your time-space reality in response to the asking that took place. And it is a current that will serve you so exceedingly well as you line up with it. Now, some have said to us, well, that's not hard to understand, knowing what we know about contrast and understanding what we do about rockets of desire. It's easy to see how big-time rocket of desire would come out of that. But now as we watch in horror and as we worry, aren't we all more resistant than we've ever been? And we say, no, there is not more resistance present in your global environment today than there was on September 10th. It's just about different things. Now, that should bring you to a great place of relief, because what that's saying is, more of you are asking, so more source energy has come forth on September 10th. It's just about different things. Now, that should bring you to a great place of relief, because what that's saying is, more of you are asking, so more source energy has come forth, so more well-being is at your disposal. And your resistance globally is not greater. Now, it could be individually. In other words, there are places where, as you say, as you are affected more personally, you could have stronger reason to personally be holding yourself apart from it. But as far as a world event goes, we say well-being is more powerfully flowing toward you now than even before. And that's a hard thing for those to hear who are at ground zero, so to speak. So, taking that information, now you're in a very good place to make your next decision. How much of this source energy that we've all collectively summoned am I going to allow into my experience? And what you will discover is that there will be an even more defining, you've been seeing it for some time, we've been talking about it for years, but you will see even more exaggerated now, a greater defining between those who are allowing the stream to flow through their experience toward their objects of desire and those who are resisting. In other words, the crevasse between those who have and have not is going to be more distinct. Between those who are well and sick is going to be more distinct. You've heard us talk about this before. As you're driving 100 miles an hour in your car, it is good for you to pay attention to what you're doing with the steering wheel. If you're going 5 miles an hour, you can put your makeup on, you can program your global satellite, you can make 14 phone calls, and probably not that much is going to happen. But the faster you're moving, then the more your clarity about what you're doing serves you. And so for those of you who have been practicing lining up your energy and directing thought and getting into a good feeling place, you're going to almost be embarrassingly successful in the things that you are wanting. And those of you who are holding some negative attachment to something are going to find faster manifestations in it. It's the time of heightened energy flow. It's the way that it always is. So your aching bones ache a little more, or your grumbling children grumble a little more. It's reflected in all kinds of ways. It doesn't mean that something is wrong. It just means that that which is very right is continuing to be, you see.
And I would then have the influence over my company. So if I just remain like that myself, very centered, then I guess law of attraction would allow my coworkers and everyone to also react the way that I am.
Or you would gravitate to some place that was already like that. In other words, don't put limitations upon the universe's ability to deliver you into the results that you're looking for. Just do your best to look for the positive aspects where you stand, and what is best for you will always come to you. There has never only been one company. People say, I'm afraid that I will show up at the dock and I will have missed my ship. And we say, there's another and another and another and another and another and another and another. The universe is yielding and yielding and yielding and yielding and yielding. One day you may receive more than another. On another day you may receive more than another. In other words, your work is just to find your place and begin to allow the well-being back into your experience. Your economic instability did not start on September 11th. It seems to have been exaggerated as a result of that, but there are a whole lot of people that are actually using the events of September 11th as their excuse for what was happening even before then. It's easy for everyone to say, oh, now that this bad thing has happened, now when I limp, it doesn't seem inappropriate since everyone around here is limping. And we say, do not look for justifications for things to not go well. Look for opportunities for things to continue to go well, no matter what the situations are around you. You see.
That's true, because the stock market was going down, down, down before September 11th.
And Boeing had already made the announcement that it was going to lay off all of those people. And the airlines had already published articles that they had lost their business travelers. And the hotels were already in trouble because the airlines had run off their business travelers. There are all kinds of things that were happening that, as you very powerfully pointed out in the beginning here, all were part of the culmination in all of that. What we're getting at here is, there will always be, as you look out into your environment, things that if you see them or if you were involved in them, you would shudder and say, no, not me, I'm not wanting that. And when you say, those things all need to be soothed before I can find my well-being, even under mild times, you are missing your opportunity to understand the power of your connection to source energy. Because as that non-physical energy coming forth, you did not say, I'll come forth once everyone's in agreement, because you knew everyone being in agreement was not the environment of balance that would produce continuing desires and ultimate expansion of the universe. You didn't say, I'll go forth and knock buildings down in order to stir things up either. You said, I'll go forth with my variety of idea, and it's a big enough place for all of our ideas to exist. And to the degree that I as an individual allow the variety of ideas to exist and don't take something that I don't want and use it as my reason to push against and hold me apart from well-being, I will not only survive, but I will survive in joy. In other words, I will thrive in my physical world and body. It isn't the easiest time for you to hear our message of well-being when such enormous rubble still has not even been cleared away. But we have to speak it anyway, because you have to get into a broad enough view that you accept that the well-being is dominant before you find your place back within the well-being. And when you find your place back within the well-being, then you continue to thrive as you always do.